Jesus teaches us what radical love means through His own words and deeds. We begin our reflection on this meaningful and relevant theme by recalling Christ's words at the end of our Gospel for today. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Jesus' commandment to love is radical if we understand it in the context of what the evangelist narrates at the beginning of our gospel reading, when he had gone out. Herein, St. John refers to Judas, who was about to betray Jesus. A typical response to betrayal or an evil committed is to hate the evildoer. This attitude is expressed in many forms, like revenge, or seeking justice through violent means, as conveyed by the axiom, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Moreover, in more common parlance, we casually say to those who are wronged, "Don't get mad, get even." Such belligerence is normalized, even romanticized in movies and in so-called telenovelas, which revolve around plots where at the end of the story, the protagonists' triumph happens when the enemy is vanquished, as if the only way for good to triumph over evil is when justice is served through hate or violence. Unfortunately, such plots or stories are also found in real-life situations. For example, in the many wars that cause grave destruction to lives and properties, and in the differences in political and ideological views exacerbated by the cancel culture that is seriously harming human relationships. Therefore, in light of this, let us briefly reflect on what radical love means as taught by Jesus Christ. Let us not forget that the Lord taught the disciples radical love in anticipation of His passion, death, and resurrection. First, radical love is humble service. In the new commandment that Jesus Christ gives to His disciples, He asks them to love one another, which He emphatically demonstrated by washing their feet. As applied to our everyday lives, this means sanctifying our actions by doing good to others, especially those who cannot pay us back. As Saint Ignatius of Loyola prays, "Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds." Second, radical love is other-centered, which is opposed to a harmfully subjectivistic and individualistic worldview. The prophetic call of radical love is the rebuke of the eye to recognize that its limitations are presented with utmost clarity when it encounters the face of one's neighbors who demand responsibility for their sufferings. As Aquinas explains with remarkable clarity, to love means to will and to choose the good of the other consistently. Third, radical love is boundless. To love radically is to love tirelessly, generously, and with reckless abandon, which means we should not put a cap on what we can do or give as an expression of our love. That is why radical love is to forego its cost and endure the hurt it causes. In imitation of Christ, many saints demonstrated this by enduring sacrifices and accepting the martyr's palm with great joy in their hearts. Lastly, radical love is God-centered. As followers of Christ, we are constantly being reminded that even though we are in the world, we should not be of the world. Furthermore, as St. Paul exhorts the Romans, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Therefore, radical love is to be conformed to God, who is love. As Christians, we are called to constantly renew in our words and deeds the mandatum novum which we received from Christ. Therefore, as disciples, we understand and show that love is not a lukewarm sentiment, but a call to action that elevates and conforms us to Christ, who exemplified that to love genuinely and divinely is to love radically.